Ingat, ingat,
Ingat,
ingat, menjalinkan hubungan rambang adalah pengalaman yang mendewasakan.
looking good.
Yeah, thank you lah.
So Charles, apakah itu Institute On Jaafar?
Institute On Jaafar is a non-profit agency which we actually established on 7th of September 2014, and we are going into our 7th year. It's basically a non-government organization, it's a non-profit organization to help out the poor and vulnerable in a nutshell. But we are more focusing on providing a morning soup kitchen, which is our signature program, because we believe we want to go back into the main needs in life, which is food, clothes, and also shelter. But we can't be doing shelter and clothes at the moment, but we are concentrating on providing free breakfast for the homeless, as well as the underprivileged children, because we know breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And today, we are actually serving more than 500 recipients, which includes, I would say like 80% of it are children, which is local children, refugee children, disabled children, and also the homeless community.
So your services will be in just Klang Valley or throughout the country?
In Chowkit, mainly we are doing in Chowkit, but we have extended it to PJ and also to Penang. Yeah, these three locations.
Awesome. Funding macam mana?
Funding, basically we are depending on corporate sponsors. Okay, and from the corporate sponsor we have to use it to get the things and to get ends meet, I would have to say, to ensure that we provide the breakfast. But during this COVID-19 pandemic, of course, it's very challenging. We cannot be actually using the same method like the previous time that we used to secure for one whole year, which is like 33 weeks every Wednesday. But now we are going on weekly basis, where the dry food, we get the sponsor from Mydin, the t-shirts for the volunteers, if they are coming in, which like now, MCA is very restricted and so on, and the face mask, and also the bag to keep the food we are getting from an organization called Motoprono. And the cooked food is coming from individual. I just call up my friend because any of my friends wants to sponsor, because it's only like 380 ringgit to sponsor 200 plus nasi lemak, mee or mihun. So we join everything together. So one person will have one nasi lemak, mihun, mee, one nasi lemak, mihun or mee, and then they will have biscuits, and also they will have drinks sponsored by Mydin. So it will be a very good breakfast in the morning for the recipients. Yeah, because we have to change the way. It's not only about new norm. It's not about just about like sanitizing your hand and wearing your face mask and social distancing. It's also the way you have to think. Also, you have to change. It's no more like going for like 6 months sponsor, 1 year sponsor. It must go on maybe like cut it into short, a weekly basis sponsor. Yeah, because the B40 group and a lot of people who need food at this point of time is a severe case in Malaysia as a whole.
Okey, kita nak juga dengan Charles Mohan bercakap dalam bahasa Melayu.
Alamak. Start ke belum? Boleh lagi kan?
Dah.
Dah ya? Oh my God, I didn't know.
Kau nak start balik tak?
Tak ada.
Teruskan je. Sorry. Satu kali lagi. So, going down to the street, you'll be doing it on a daily basis or?
Okay, we'll be doing, our program is every Wednesday morning. Okay, which means we start our preparation like as early as 5 a.m. the food arrived to our center in Chowkit at by 5:30. All right. So we have to segregate according to the centers. This is before COVID lah. Okay. We have to segregate before according to the centers, and then the volunteers will come in from private and public universities, around 40 of them every time. And then we segregate the numbers of the volunteers according to the locations. And then the Jom Breakfast program starts simultaneously at 7 o'clock at all the locations. Okay, COVID-19, what happened? We don't have volunteers, correct? And we can't be going to the children's center because the children are not available. So we are more focusing on the temporary relief center for the homeless and also the permanent one. So which means we just go there, we follow a very stringent SOP, we just hand over our food there, we arrange properly for them, and then we just come back. The distributing will be done by DBKL and also the RELA people for the homeless in the respective area. Yeah.
Okay, Charles, IOJ Institute on Jaafar.
Yeah.
Ya, dia punya penaung dia Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein.
Ya, Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein.
Nama Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein dan Institut On Jaafar itu banyak membantu untuk dapatkan sponsor?
Okey, saya tak nak gunakan Datuk Seri Hishamuddin sebagai satu penarik untuk menarik lebih banyak sponsor, because I think the reason why Hishamuddin bersetuju untuk kita sama-sama melaksanakan program ini adalah dengan niat dengan nawaitu yang sangat ikhlas. Alright, so we want to learn and we want to progress and we want to grow. So in order to that, I think me using my experience as a broadcast journalist in the TV industry with my connections and so on, I do try to get things done for IOJ. I'm not saying Hisham is not helping us at all. He is definitely helping us a lot. But I think kita tidak boleh hanya bergantung semata-mata beliau adalah penaung. Penaung kita adalah seorang menteri, kita kena bergantung kepada beliau. Tak ada. Kita kena be more evolving in the sense of, okay, what can I do as a CEO? Amin takkan nak duduk dekat sini dengan pangkat besar je. I have people that I know. I have friends who wants to come forward to help. And I have established very good network while I was in the TV. So I try to connect both together to ensure the longevity of IOJ to continue since we start in 2014 until today. And I would definitely want to thank all the sponsors who came in directly, openly, or some of them who say, like, I just want to give some money, but I don't want people to know what I'm giving. So thank you so much to everyone who support us. It is not for IOJ or the staff, but it's for the homeless people and also for the children who are really in need of the food.
Charles, kalau kita tengok sejak pandemik ni kan, yang susah, yang miskin semakin papa ke dana. Bagi Charles dan IOJ sendiri yang berada di lapangan, ada tak cerita yang ataupun you tengok sendiri yang buat you rasa macam balik kat rumah dan buat you fikir dan terngiang-ngiang dekat mata?
Saya rasa bagi saya maupun staff IOJ, this is what I call a real eye opener. Sebab apa, Dang? Bila kami pergi memberikan makanan kepada orang-orang gelandangan di pusat transit gelandangan sementara di Sentul yang menempatkan gelandangan untuk satu tempoh masa yang sementara, ialah bagi makan untuk orang gelandangan tu satu case. Alright, okay, we been doing that. Okay, so I don't find anything extraordinary about that. Tetapi bila saya bangun pukul 5 pagi, saya bawa Hilux saya lalu dekat kawasan Sentul, saya lihat rumah PPRT kerajaan dan saya lihat kanak-kanak ramai yang tengah berdiri depan rumah tak dapat nak keluar. I just was imagining how difficult it would be for a family. Maybe their income is only like 1,800 or 2,000 ringgit, anak dalam 6 orang, lepas tu PKP ni tak boleh nak keluar, and children will be opening the refrigerator every 5 minutes for food, and how they are struggling. I really felt for the B40 group at that point of time. It's not so much of the gelandangan people and so much, but bila I lalu sana, I really felt for the people because bila saya pandang ke kiri, saya ingat the flat is so like macam sangat tinggi. Saya pasti bilik dia ada 2, tandas 1, anak 6 orang, cram, ibu bapa tak boleh nak kerja. Most of them mungkin adalah mereka yang daily wage people, we never know. So I tengah fikir, kita dekat rumah pun kalau PKP ni, kalau ada anak ke anak buah dekat rumah pun kita tahu how they open the refrigerator 10 times a day, betul tak? Ni kan kalau macam ni, I just wonder. So I really fell for them, and I really hope, what the government is doing is good, but I hope they can do more and they can do better. And I have to say this, ramai yang saya tengok adalah, yang saya nampak dekat rumah PPRT ni adalah ramai orang Melayu. So I kesian lah. And now I know, I also came to a mindset, sometimes kenapa kadang-kadang kita rasa macam kerajaan lebih memberikan kepada orang-orang Melayu, sebab I think a lot of people are suffering.
Orang Melayu,
Malay community dekat PPRT dan B40 group, I think the percentage is very high, and they should be helped, and of course any other race as well. But sedih lah bila you lalu. Sometimes in life it's not so much of what exactly you're doing, what you learn from exactly you're doing, but the journey along the way to the location when you see left, right, that's where you try to learn. And I hope this COVID will end soon, and they will receive adequate support from whoever, and then it also will give an element of life is all about sharing. Yeah.
Charles, sorry. Dia punya volume tu macam turun naik. Mungkin kena dekat sikit. Ya.
Okay, sekarang dengar tak clear?
Okay, clear.
Okay, alright.
Okay. Tapi dia dah off. You dah off frame sikit. Yes, correct. You're right.
Okay, sekarang okay?
Okay, cantik.
Alright, okay.
Kalau dia condenser dia turun naik.
Yeah.
Charles,
tapi sebelum tu saya nak tambah, Ed ni penulis lirik kan, Ed. Sometimes Ed, I know penulis lirik ni it's not so much of idea of a song, but along the way when you want to get the journey to that idea, you akan nampak a few things, and then that will be a part of the lyric to give the real meaning of the situation. Betul tak? That was happened lah, you know. What I'm trying to say is something like that, you know. All the on the way nak bagi makanan dekat orang gelandangan dekat PSG Sentul ke atau Jalan Pahang, ini yang kami nampak along the way dekat rumah PPRT, people standing outside very early in the morning, cannot go out. Lepas tu you can imagine like budak-budak is just standing outside of the grill of the house, and then can hear their voice and so on. So you really feel it lah, you know, what exactly is happening in their house lah, you know.
Charles, kalau you tadi bercakap kan tentang ramai Melayu kan, would the Indians feel you are not looking at them?
No, I'm not saying the Indians are not suffering. What I'm saying is like what I saw along the way to the PSG Center, and it can be concluded like that. And because Malays are the majority penduduk dekat negara ini, so dari segi percentage, I believe the B40 comes from the Malay group is higher. So obviously it's not going to make the Indian people offended, because I didn't say the Indians and Chinese are doing far more better than the Malays. I'm saying the percentage is lesser. So I can feel, if someone asks me like if anyone want to nak merasai apa kaum lain rasa and everything, I think this actually made me to think lah, you know, memang ada, it's true, it's ramai, kita boleh nampak ramai orang Melayu yang B40, which is the peratusan yang paling tinggi dalam kategori B40 ini, is having a tough time lah, you know. So,
okay, Charles, kita kadang-kadang kita dalam mengejar dunia yang sangat ideal kan, dan you being a broadcast journalist dan juga ketua pegawai eksekutif atau CEO untuk Institut Ron Jaafar, ya. Seandainya, I mean of course ada benda yang kalau you want, you nak sesuatu dunia yang ideal, tetapi apa yang kita nak kadang-kadang hanya 30% saja yang kita dapat, kan. Sekiranya ada tongkat sakti,
ajaib,
kan? Tongkat ajaib, macam Doraemon keluarkan ke apa agaknya yang you rasa would be your number one wish with regards to an ideal world, Charles?
I think respect should be mutual, number one. All right. Number two, I think it's all about kindness. Because when we die, when we leave this world, people might just forget us, but the deeds will remain. It could be remain in our children as a value. It could remain on the people that we are serving. So I think kalau satu tongkat sakti yang diberikan dekat saya dan satu-satunya peluang orang bagi dekat saya, okay, you nak gunakan tongkat ni untuk apa? Saya nak make people to understand that people look this, we should respect each other, and respect is mutual, because when you have the mutual respect among one another, kindness and love will come along the way, because we will see everyone as another human being, not because of what is their race, religion and their political belief is and whatsoever. You akan tengok dia sebagai manusia, dan macam mana saya tak nak orang buat dekat saya pun tak nak buat perkara tu dekat orang lain. So it's just that.
Yeah.
Charles, obviously you seorang yang sangat pintar. Seorang
oh iya ke? Oh terima kasih. Ini mesti Dang Surya yang cakap ni kan?
Kena ketil apa cakap ni.
Dan you adalah satu wajah yang dikenali sebagai seorang broadcast journalist, host apa. Kalau you boleh kongsi fikiran, silakan. Kalau tak kita akan cut. Apabila you melihat keadaan tadi itu yang bagaimana kemiskinan ataupun adakah kemiskinan the right word, tak pasti di kalangan orang-orang Melayu ni kan, yang telah sedikit banyak membuka mata you. Okay, dasar ekonomi baru, adakah dia satu tindakan yang sepatutnya dilakukan ketika 70-an dulu? Dan apakah akibat daripada dasar ekonomi baru ni? Adakah dia berjaya ataupun dia gagal?
Okey, dasar ekonomi baru ditubuhkan pada idealnya adalah untuk membantu orang-orang Melayu dari segi ekonomi, alright? Okay. Tetapi along the way, penilaian dan pelaksanaan dasar ekonomi baru itu telah terpesong sedikit, di mana ia menjurus kepada kepentingan segelintir orang Melayu saja dan bukan kepada orang Melayu secara keseluruhannya. Itulah masalahnya. Okey. Dan jika kita dapat lihat dasar ekonomi baru dalam tempoh 25 atau 30 tahun kemudian, ia telah dicemari dengan pelbagai tindakan seperti corruption, kepentingan diri yang keterlaluan, things which is supposed to given to that particular group what didn't reach, dia birokrasi yang terlalu banyak, macam nak bagi dekat kawan-kawan dengan keluarga yang rapat dulu, lepas tu kalau orang lain tak dapat you come later, there was no proper system and so on. So the initial dasar ekonomi baru dari perspektif dan pandangan untuk membantu orang-orang Melayu adalah sangat ikhlas dan murni, tetapi along the way dia terjejas sedikit. Ini adalah disebabkan oleh beberapa faktor seperti saya katakan tadi. Selain daripada itu, peredaran masa menyebabkan manusia terlalu keperluan manusia berbeza. It changes, right? The needs of the people have changed. So bila dia punya keperluan terlalu tinggi, dia rasa seolah-olah apa yang didapat selama ini adalah terlalu sedikit. Okey, itu satu. Yang kedua adalah bila dasar ekonomi baru ini membuka ruang untuk satu bentuk membantu golongan terbabit, mereka juga menjadi sangat alpa dan pemalas. So they didn't want to try. They say like, I'm always getting, why I should try, why I should change, because I was always getting, you know. So that was pros and cons. So it is actually diverted from the real dasar ekonomi baru semata-mata untuk meningkatkan ekonomi orang-orang Melayu dan juga kaum-kaum lain. Sebab tu kita dapat lihat kadang-kadang kita cakap, kenapa dah tahun 2021 still the Malays are suffering and having difficulty? Don't you think like they should be like in a very good situation in like maybe at least 20 years ago, you know? Tetapi hakikatnya bila prinsip like corruption, kepentingan diri, memberikan keperluan itu semata-mata untuk kepentingan politik, you know, all these things comes in, it actually crippled, mencacatkan nilai-nilai dasar ekonomi baru yang sebenar. That's what I think, you know.
Di kalangan orang Melayu sendiri kan, jurang ekonomi itu luas sangat ke?
Dia di kalangan orang Melayu tu saya rasa jurang ekonomi dia nak kata luas sangat, saya tak ada satu statistik yang tertentu untuk mentafsirkan sama ada jurang dia sangat luas ke tidak. Tetapi saya rasa kumpulan B40 peratusan dia semakin meningkat dan akan terus meningkat. Akibatnya adalah satu, kita dapat lihat kesan secara langsung dan tidak langsung daripada pandemik COVID-19 yang menangkap orang, caught us with in a situation that we are not prepared, we don't know what to do. Okay, dan yang kedua adalah we were not actually prepared in the sense of like how to move forward if this kind of situation came. We Malaysian, we are always like bila kita akan ikut bila sampai sungai atau longkang baru kita fikir macam mana kita nak go to the other side. Kita tak tengok sungai itu dah 1 kilometer jauh. Okay, next time kalau ada pembangunan, what we going to do? We don't think that way. So the mindset also plays a very important role.
So this gap will be across the board lah, kan? Throughout all races.
Yeah.
Okay, bercakap tentang sungai. Okay. Charles membesar di Klang dan we always joke about jalan tepi sungai. Now we always joke Klang itu adalah bagi seorang Charles Mohan adalah Republic of Klang.
Yeah.
Because you are very proud being lahir dan membesar di Klang. Charles sangat fasih dalam bahasa Melayu. Ya, ceritakan bagaimana Charles boleh you punya penguasaan bahasa Melayu tu boleh ada dalam pada Charles Mohan.
Saya membesar di in a Malay settlement, alright, okay. So kalau saya dengar bunyi azan tu satu hari 5 kali tu, benda tu saya rasa macam biasa, and I can know which is the subuh, which is the asar, which is the zohor. I know the time, you know, because I grow up in that situation, you know. So I feel it's a very normal thing. Then to be very frank with you, I used to be so busy for Hari Raya compared to any other celebration because saya akan pakai baju Melayu and I'm so into that. I'm so particular about the colour of baju Melayu I nak pakai. I will follow like Khairi Jamaluddin, dia kata when we first started like tak nak pakai ada pesak semua. I always tell to Dang, you know now the trend is orang tak pakai pesak atau Dang, you know. She said, you know this word all because I feel like macam I so into that trend and everything because I was living in that environment and so on and I just feel that I love living that. And when I went to school, bila I pergi sekolah, saya ada kawan Melayu, Cina, India, and I thought only saya yang macam tu, tetapi kawan-kawan India lain yang Cina lain-lain pun berpemikiran sehaluan dengan saya. So we feel that when you are in Klang, because I think Klang is a place that we have Malays are equal to Chinese, Chinese are equal to Indians in the sense of numbers. So kita ada ni, kalau you pergi the Indian street, you can see the Masjid India, and behind that is a church, and behind that there's a temple, and if you go like maybe like 200 meters from that, there's a Sikh temple. So everything is in the vicinity. So bila kadang orang kata like ada dekat tempat-tempat dekat negara ni, kalau koil dengan masjid sebelah-sebelah will akan mewujudkan situasi yang tak benar, datanglah Kelang tengok macam mana kita orang hidup. Okay je.
Dekat dengan rumah kita ni pun, dekat area Pelangi tu pun masjid dan kuil lebih kurang 100-200 meter je.
Ya.
Charles, bila kita cakap pasal lagu dan filem, dan sudah selalu cakap you lagi tahu banyak benda pasal muzik Melayu dan filem Melayu daripada kita orang.
Ya, I still remember we used to go and watch Malay movie like nobody's business. So I akan cakap dengan Dang, ada cerita Melayu ni kat teater, you tak pergi tengok ke dia? Dang akan cakap dengan saya, you watch Malay movie in theater. Tapi bila ditanya soalan macam tu, saya rasa pelik. What's wrong if watching Malay movie in theater? I used to watch Malay movie in theater like nobody's business. I used to listen to like Ali Setan was like, oh my God, Azmi Mustafa, Allahyarham Azmi Mustafa was one of the person that I like admire so much, and I had a privilege to meet him, and then I greeted him, and then dikenalkan saya dengan anak-anak dia. Dia kata, you kenal tak ni siapa ni? Lah Charles Mohan dari NTV7, and I was like so like overwhelmed with his that he knows me in person. So I was like very taken care. And then in fact, masa cerita Ali Setan Asmida masuk USM tu, I told to Dang, you know what, Dang, the thing that inspired me to go to University Malaya, and I really wanted to go to university, is because of Ali Setan, because I see the environment. Although I'm from UM, I'm not from USM. The movie was taken in USM, but I suka environment, student and all these things. I think not all, but I think the Malay movies that I watch was all great lah, So I memang suka macam, I just like the songs, the music and all these thing. And like, it's like last time when I watch music, like it's like a juara, music juara, it's like masa Francisca Peter sekadar di pinggiran, all this thing, we will be like Manan Nga and everything. We will be like calling our friends, you think who's going to win? Siapa yang akan menang? Francisca Peter ke? Ada siapa, Rohana Jalil ke? Or these people ke? A lot of people will be like, go to school, we will be talking about that. Who's going to win? It's like macam sekarang kalau orang tengok 1 in a million ke, who thinks do you think you can dance? People are talking about it. We will be talking about these things then, So memang seronok lah. So, and I met Zaitun Semyon in Klang, so I was like, I cakap, Kak Zaitun, apa khabar? Saya peminat setia Kak Zaitun. So dia kata, ya ke, lain kali kalau ada majlis ke apa, panggillah saya boleh datang nyanyi, dia kata. I cakap, okay. So I was like very taken. Saya takkan rasa malu nak pergi tegur artis-artis Melayu kat mana-mana yang saya macam like what once was my idola, So even I remember I spoke to you about this Emilina, penyanyi dangdut tu kan, she make a came back, and then you was like a bit weird. You know Emilina? I said, of course I know Emilina. Dia dengan Jamal Abdillah, lagu Sri Lanka. So all these things, and I go to karaoke, I sing this Sri Lanka song with my friends and so on. So it could be quite weird with some people, but then like I just liked it, like Ella, all these people. I grow with them, so I just like, it was very a moment to cherish lah about these Malay singers and artists lah,
No, you make me feel so bad. You make me feel so bad.
No, I'm not. I'm not making you all feel bad, but I feel that we should support our Malay movie and industry. Saya rasa kita harus support sebab dia is very classic, and if you could relate. And it's very, very interesting that you find. And in fact, bila I tulis karangan masa SPM atau STPM, saya akan pilih some of the lyrics from the lagu-lagu and everything. I try to say like, for example, like bila I baca sastra Melayu kan, dia kata pertemuan mereka berdua yang sudah berpisah selepas hampir 10 tahun seolah-olah luka lama berdarah kembali. And I saw that part of lyric in a song, then I applied it when I write my karangan and all these things. So I feel like and I get very good marks. So I feel that, I'm sure I can relate to the Malay community very well lah,
Dua perkara dulu. Nombor satu, Zaitun Samion dapat tak job?
Tak dapat job sebab saya masa tu saya tak ada nak event nak bagi dekat dia. Lepas tu yang kedua, I just I was like really overwhelmed to see her sebab she met an accident, life after that changed.
This was before the accident
I met after the accident. I met her in Klang, So I was like, dah lah Zaitun Samuel, lepas tu jumpa kat Kelang, So it's like, oh my God, Zaitun Samuel is in Klang. I was like, oh my God, Zaitun Samuel in Klang. Like my friends all ada like,
ya betul.
Zaitun Samuel, what's Klang? So what, macam.
Klang kat mana masa tu? Dia tengah buat apa?
Dekat Jaya Jesko Bukit Tinggi. I tengah beli barang. So dia tengah beratur belakang I, Then the one function, I met Rahimah Rahim. Bebas Ku Ingin Bebas, that song. I don't know the singer's name, I can recall,
Don't look at me.
Ramlah Ram, not Ramlah Ram, Rahimah Rahim.
Ingin bebas macam tu
Ku ingin bebas.
I think Rahimah Rahim.
Rahimah Rahim. So I saw her in a hotel. And I couldn't remember her name. So I went to her, I said, are you the singer yang lagu Bebas, Ku Ingin Bebas? She said, yeah, I am the one. And she looked so weird at me. And then she said, okay, thank you. I used to listen to your song. Okay, thank you. Then she left,
Okay, Charles. Other than Rahimah Rahim dan juga Zaitun Sami'un, kau juga jumpa Jackie Chan.
Oh my God, Jackie Chan I jumpa di Beijing, China. Okay, that was masa the previous Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak 100 days when he visited the Republic of China, when he met the President and the Prime Minister of China, Wen Jiabao dan Hu Jintao. I was privileged to follow the entourage there to do the coverage. So I dah buat assignment, I semua dah siap-siap semua balik, dah siap. Then I was going to the last economic forum punya dinner, and then they were scanning and everything. Then I saw somebody like Jackie Chan came. Then the person was coming closer to me. And then I realized it was Jackie Chan. I pergi pegang tangan dia macam tu. And then I said, excuse me, are you Jackie Chan? Are you Jackie Chan? Are you Jackie Chan? Kan? And was like, dia kata, yeah, I am Jackie Chan. I am Jackie Chan. Oh my God, I'm your fan. And oh my God, Jackie Chan. Jackie say, okay, thank you. And then you just like, saya macam jumpa Jackie Chan tu, I want to tell to everyone, but I had that time smartphone dah keluar, but I didn't take any picture with him because saya macam terkejut jumpa Jackie Chan lah, So yeah, And I know how mungkin kalau kadang-kadang ada satu dua orang jumpa saya, dia kata, oh my God, Charles Mohan. I know how it feels when you meet somebody yang you tak pernah jumpa and suddenly you jumpa kan. So yeah.
You sure Jackie Chan then after that went to his friend and said, hey, you know what? This is miraculous. I just met Barack Obama.
No, maybe he would have said like, who's met this guy, he is holding my hand.
Dia tak ada security guard ke masa tu? Tak ada
ada satu bodyguard dia, tapi bodyguard dia dengan dia tu ada space, and I was like terlebih excited, and I just went and hold his hand like that. Are you Jackie Chan? Oh my God, are you Jackie Chan? Are you Jackie Chan? Macam tu,
Dia tinggi je, rendah.
Dia rendah je, dia rendah daripada saya, and dia seems to be a very friendly person lah, Dia tak adalah macam don't touch me. No, he didn't do that, but he was like, yeah, I am Jackie Chan. I am Jackie Chan. He said,
okay, tough ke badan dia?
Dah.
Okay lah, lebih kurang macam Ed lah,
Now you call me apa? Jackie.
Ada Kasih Chan. Saya panggil you Kasih Chan. Charles, selain daripada Jackie Chan, selain daripada Zaitun Sami'un dengan Rahimah Rahim kat Kelang, siapa lagi yang kau pernah jumpa?
Amitabh Bachchan.
Amitabh Bachchan pernah jumpa, Aishwarya Rai pernah jumpa, Shilpa Shetty pernah jumpa, all these Hindi actors, Tamil actors, ramai yang pernah jumpa. But my excitement when I see the Malay artists is dia punya percentage tu macam lebih sikit daripada jumpa artis-artis daripada India ni. I mean they're from India, or even Aishwarya Rai jumpa masa dia tengah shooting dekat Sunway Lagoon. I just like, oh okay, Aishwarya Rai.
Are you sure? Macam
I didn't like macam.
So you get excited lebih jumpa
artis Melayu sebab I rasa I could relate to them easier. Sebab you can
tak sombong
and approach and like, oh my God, Kak Zaitun apa khabar? Saya peminat. You peminat I ke? They'll say like that. But I cannot go and tell it to Aishwarya. Oh my God, Aishwarya, you're so pretty. I've been your fan. I cannot say that because dia macam
What?
Not what like I've got this
That's so
2 million
obvious.
yeah, you know, stating the obvious or something.
Oh, okay. Amitabh Bachchan dia buat syuting kat Malaysia
Dia buat syuting dengan Malaysia sekali dengan Aishwarya Rai and also this Kajol punya husband Ajif Devgan. Dia orang came for a movie.
Ajay Devgan.
Yeah. So
Charles,
all of
you interview ramai orang, politicians dan artis dan ramai lagi. Tetapi apa yang paling you rasa macam the funniest moment ataupun embarrassing moment dalam you punya career buat reporting dan interviewing people?
Well, I really enjoying to interview people. One thing I realize in life is it's always easy to ask question, but it's damn difficult to answer question. And I've put a lot of people in a lot of situations that they can't answer their question and so on, you know.
Sebagai contoh?
Contohnya like my encounter with the former MCA President, which is Datuk Seri Chua Soi Lek. Kita orang gaduh dalam the first time when he was appointed as the MCA representative for the health minister. That was his first function, and I pergi dekat sana. Masa tu ada isu dekat Bario dan Bakallalan tidak mempunyai doktor, nurse is going treating them. So my question was, why don't you send doctors there? Why? He said like doctors don't want to go there. So I have to. I say you are the minister. Why can't you tell to your the doctor who's reporting to you to go? He said, you don't talk to me like that. I said, I will talk to you like that. So gaduh sampai gaduh, you know. So those kind of experience I've encountered with Datuk Sri Chua Soi Lek, but eventually we became good friends, you know. I enjoy interviewing people like Sami Welu because Tun Sami Welu is like somebody that I grew up from the day one of my career until I left full time with NTV7 as a broadcast journalist lah. Okay, so I like the way he speaks, the command, and then the way he dress up, the way he carry himself. So I have to tell politician lama ni memang hebat, ada kelas. They are a group of people with so classy, you know. Like people like Tun Daim Zainuddin, I pernah interview dia masa dia jadi Menteri Kewangan. Masa tu isu mengenai perlantikan KWSP punya CEO or something like that. So we had that name, we asked him, but he didn't want to say. Then I was like provoking him and say like, I'm sure you know, Dato', you mesti tahu kan. Dia kata tak ada, kalau you ada calon, you bagi tahu I lah, mungkin saya akan lantik. Lepas tu saya argue balik dengan dia, kalau saya ada calon, lebih baik saya jadi calon, Datuk ada just lantik I sajalah, you know. I talk to this kind of things all, you know. So I would have made a lot of people irritated with my questions and so on, but it is a learning process. So I feel these people are class lah, ada class lah, the way they move around in politics and everything is like, you have to salute them, you know.
Yeah, okay Charles, cerita balik embarrassing moment or funny moment or memorable moment dalam career sebagai when you interview, then other than the Chua Soi Lek, itu adalah memorable, you gaduh kan. Tapi is there any embarrassing moment or funny moment that you can share?
Funny moment, I can't recall so much. I just can recall one incident with Dang Surya masa tu. Itu satu je. Masa tu kita buat Penang Full Stop, a program called to promote about Penang, and Dang Surya was in studio. And then I actually called her one day before or a few hours before that. I said, Dang, you tanya soalan ni, saya akan jawab soalan ni, okay? So Dang supposed to tanya dekat saya, Charles, apa khabar? Lama tak jumpa. Mungkin boleh beri perkembangan di Pulau Pinang pada ketika ini. Dan saya kena jawab, gitu-gitulah Dang. Memang kita lama tak jumpa. Biar jauh di mata tetapi dekat di hati. Suasana di sini, that's how we plan lah. But come that day, that moment, ada masalah technical, and then I punya earpiece was not working. I couldn't really hear what Dang was saying. And Dang on the studio pula, dia macam a bit alert. She said like, oh, maybe I should not ask this question to Charles because Charles would not answer. But my mind was thinking, no matter what Dang will ask me this question. So Dang pula macam untuk perkembangan seterusnya di Pulau Pinang, kita bersama Charles Mon. Silakan Charles. Saya pula gitu-gitulah Dang, biar jauh di mata, dekat di hati. So then I saw she was like laughing. I was like, what's wrong, you know? So that is one funny moment that I could recall, you know. But I must say that I really had good people to teach me. It was a very good moment with NTV7, especially with people like Dang Surya, Wan Kamaruddin, Esther Tan, and many more. I definitely want to mention all of them. It is not about working with NTV7. It's about our relationship, and it's about good relationship. It's about life. It's definitely a new chapter in life that we will treasure sampai bila-bila lah.
Charles, sorry apa yang buat Sami Value itu hebat, Charles, from your own perspective?
Sami Value is a leader.
How?
Dia, kalau you nak kata a leader which has the command, which has the control over a party, which can actually turn around things according to what he wants, you should learn from him. Beliau adalah seorang yang sangat berpandangan luas, dan he has this extraordinary thing that he know where are you coming from, what will be your next call for action, and how I should be prepared and how I should answer you. And he's very daring, you know. Dia sangat berani, seorang pemimpin yang sangat-sangat berani. Contohnya saya lihat masa isu kuil di Shah Alam dirobohkan. Ketika itu Menteri Besar Selangor adalah Datuk Seri Muhammad Khair Toyo. Okay, that was a dispute. That's the year that the Barisan Nasional Government lost in the election to Pakatan Harapan. So masa rela tu nak pecahkan kuil tu, sebab kuil tu dilihat sebagai dibina di kawasan TOL, Temporarily Occupied Land. So bila Sami Value couldn't find a solution at that point of time, but and the people there was like going bizarre. Dia orang macam sangat marah dengan seolah-olah pemimpin India tak buat apa-apa untuk mereka. But kalau saya dalam situasi itu, mungkin saya takkan berani nak pergi kat sana, because I will be like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? Tetapi Datuk Seri Sami Value actually came there. He went to the temple. He spoke to the person. Although everyone was like yelling and shouting at him, he was so composed. He just said what he need to say, and then he just came out from there. So I think that is like a very brave leader, you know. Yeah. So I have experienced this kind of thing, you know. Saya rasa pemimpin-pemimpin macam ni sangat interesting to work with, you know. Like for example, I definitely want to touch about Dato' Sri Syam, you know. He's a very kind person at heart. Seorang yang sangat baik hati and sangat ikhlas. So he's a very loving person towards family. He's very loving towards friends, and he's quite a chill person, and he will listen. Dia akan dengar apa masalah you. And he's very wise, you know. Dia macam sangat seorang individu yang sangat kalau you close dengan dia, he will be someone who's like very close to your heart. So he has that, and he don't sees you as whether you are Malay, Indian or Chinese. A friend is a friend.
Charles, bercakap tentang leadership lah, since you touch on leadership, you tengok Sami Value there ada certain degree ataupun maybe banyak percentage dia dictating. Then you talk about Datuk Seri Hishamuddin yang kindness, empathy. You bila you talk menyebut nama Hishamuddin tu ada fondness di kalangan you guys dekat IOJ kan. So about being a leader, you sendiri, you are leading the IOJ kan. How does all that element menjadikan you sebagai seorang leader?
Well, what I learned from my experience is I rasa macam Tun Samiweli tu, he's a leader. He controls things and he's accountable for whatever he's controlling. That's the most important thing. I think the accountability is very important, which I feel it's a bit lacking in today's leader, So itu I belajar daripada dia. And like what Larry King said, he said like, when I start asking question, I don't learn anything. I just start learning a lot of things when I start listening. So I think at this age, I intend to listen to what people say, and I try to correct my team and always try to bring them to the right platform, because sometimes saya rasa saya boleh lihat perkara itu dalam perspektif yang lebih luas untuk kepentingan bersama. So I want to share that knowledge to them. It could be bitter, it could be like very boring, it could be like macam tak nak dengar lah apalah ni lah all these things, but I feel I am accountability for that. I have the responsibility and I want to do that. Yeah. Macam mak bapa kita dulu kan, kita kan macam like why I should listen to you, why I should listen to you kan. Tapi bila kita dah jadi mak bapa, dan kita tahu maybe this is what they trying to say and so on kan. Macam tu lah lebih kurang. So yes, seperti relate back to the leaders and so on, I above all the leaders, the biggest living God for me is a mother, syurga di bawah tapak kaki ibu. So I always share these things with Dang. I love my mother so much, and I always tell to Dang she resembles so much of the qualities that my mother has. Very strong, very bold, and also garang dan kena pada tempatnya lah, So I rasa macam I belajar banyak benda daripada mak saya. Dan my family, I got like 4 elder sisters, so I can relate to them. So I faham apa nilai-nilai yang ada pada wanita ini yang boleh menjadikan seorang lelaki itu more sensible and more accountability and responsibility towards family, children, society, or your staff or anybody.
Ya, segmen ini tidak dibayar oleh Persatuan Ibu-Ibu se-Malaysia. Okay, Charles, talking back tentang masa dekat UM, you belajar tentang history Islamic studies.
Yeah, I did my Islamic study when I was in Form 6, because I was from the art stream, so I took my Islamic paper, and I actually scored very well in my Islamic subject, because my teacher told me, he said like, Charles, jangan lihat sejarah Islam ni sebagai satu subjek agama, lihat subjek ini sebagai satu pengetahuan. When you look at you want to know about a religion in the sense of knowledge, then you going to have a very broad spectrum and understanding about it, rather than just take it like, oh my God, it's a religion, I'm a different religion. Don't go on that scope. So I followed her idea. Nice. So that's where I know like zaman Jahiliyah, and then Hijratul Rasul, Perang Uhud, Badar, Kandar, and then iconic people like Bilal bin Rabah when with Prophet Muhammad, and then what had happened when Israq dan Mikraj, burung burak, all these things, Well, I still feel maybe apa pengetahuan saya mengenai agama Islam itu ialah sangat little, but I could relate when people say why they are doing this and why they are doing that. It's a knowledge, So as I always told you in our first communication, is like respect is mutual. I always want to respect people, their religion. So I hope Malaysians also can be the same thing towards
Adakah masih jauh pada pandangan Charles Mohan perjalanan untuk unite respect di kalangan Malaysia sendiri?
Saya takkan cakap semakin jauh. Dia nilai-nilai dia is coming lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser day by day, because the respect is not there, number one, you know, and political interest is dominating the real value of humans sekarang. So kita dapat lihat ramai yang melihat divide and rule using a religion is the better key rather than uniting everyone and understanding about each other. It works well the other way around. So it boils back to your selfishness lah, you know.
Yeah.
Charles, okay, obviously you know Datuk Sri Hishamuddin, Tung Sen On. I've listened to his speech a couple of times, and I find signals of his ideas, of his philosophy, of his what he would want Malaysia to be. Being the person that knows him well, up to a certain level, of course, if Hishamuddin get to be the Prime Minister, this hypothetical, what do you think the kind of Malaysia that he would build?
Well, I think Hishamuddin will go back to history, because I always believe Hishamuddin learned a lot from his father, which is Allahyarham Tun Hussein On, which is a Bapa Perpaduan Negara, and also his grandfather, Allahyarham Datuk Sir On Jaafar, you know. Well, On Jaafar is a visionary person. He, at that point of time, he wanted to open UMNO for all, because he already saw this problem now. Okay, whatever he's going to. So that's why people say, I'm not saying Hishamuddin wants to open UMNO for all, but the visionary part of it, you know. So I believe uniting people, bringing Malaysian together, and to spread love and kindness will be the utmost important thing that Hishamuddin will be championing if he is the Prime Minister to be in future, which my statement could be biased because I'm with IOJ, but then I feel that's what we need so much at this point of time, daripada kita pecah belah, hatred, you know, so much like getting into this race and religion thing. Like, why not we go back to the history and look at how we were one time, you know. Don't be so like judgmental about people, you know, people who are, you know, like sometimes if you see some ladies who are wearing tudung or not tudung, don't simply make statement, because that is between them and God, and you are nobody. You are just a humble human being. You just have to live in a way that you're supposed to live, you know. Betulkan diri sendiri dulu, you know. Accept people as what they are, you know. In this world and this country, we have people who have religion, we don't have religion, people who are free thinker or not free thinker. But the ultimatum is, doesn't mean you are a religion person, you're good. Doesn't mean you don't have religion, you're bad. No, you have to break that stereotype, you know. It's all about kindness and love. So why don't you evaluate people on that, you know? And the rest, you leave it to God lah. Yeah.
Macam mana nak buat kalau kita bagi that sort of freedom dan lenient? Contohlah with regards to LGBT contoh Charles we talk about people LGBT punya community nak macam ni, nak diterima dan sebagainya. Tapi at the same time dekat negara kita, hakikatnya kalau that sort of freedom dibenarkan, dia akan go all over the place. The probability of going all over the place. So macam mana kita nak balance benda tu, perkara tu, at the same time nak jadi nak demokrasi tetapi nak kena a certain degree of dictating.
Yeah, I'm looking back again at what I said. I think it's all about respecting people for what they are, you know. As long as it's not detrimental to the menggugat keselamatan negara and so on, you should be able to do it. And I think benda-benda tu, everything you have to do with a pinch of salt, and buat sekadar secukup rasa lah. Sometimes you no need to openly tell to everyone that I'm this, I'm that, this is my desire and so on, you know. You're not, by opening it up, it doesn't mean that it's a freedom of speech, because for me, freedom of speech comes with responsible. So if you're talking about, for example, if you're talking about freedom of speech, if you are making a statement under the norm of freedom of speech, you also must be in a mindset to accept what other people are condemning about you, because it's their freedom of speech as well.
Yeah,
Correct?
Yeah,
so are you doing that, or are you going to be biased like, hey, you cannot say like that, but you can say whatever you want, correct?
Yeah.
So that is the situation is happening in Malaysia or elsewhere in the world. So you have to know what you want to say and what you don't want to say. That's why some people say, kadang-kadang kalau you tak ada benda baik nak cakap, it's better to just keep quiet.
Maknanya kita liberal tetapi acuan Malaysia.
Liberal acuan Malaysia, tetapi berikan tumpuan kepada benda-benda yang menyatu padukan kita, bukannya melihat kekurangan orang dan memecah belahkan kita, you know. Maybe that person ada tendency macam tu, but they can be a wonderful fashion designer who can bring Malaysia's name to internationally. Why can't you talk about that?
Sekarang ni perkataan liberal adalah satu perkataan yang buruk, yang telah demonize kan oleh pihak-pihak tertentu. So bila kita cakap guna perkataan liberal tadi, backlash dia mungkin akan berlaku pada kita, akan kena pada kita, because perkataan liberal itu sendiri
is all because we are in a situation that my liberal and your liberal is too deep. Different thing. When I say something on a scope of liberal, I want you to accept it. But when you are talking about that liberal, I won't accept it.
Yeah.
There's no like coherence between the acceptations of the values or idea of liberal. That is the problem. So rather than arguing and creating problem, sometimes it gets very tired and it's going to drain you out. I feel sometimes it's better not to talk about it. Let's talk about something that is fun, that is something's going to make someone feel good. Since we all are from a feel good channel, let's make other people's life really feel good and talk about good and positive things about people. That is also good for your soul, you know. You look at the good things on someone, you know.
Okay, Charles, selain kita relax sikit daripada isu-isu yang berat tu. Now let's see ramalan dan you punya wishlist. Siapa would choose other than Datuk Seri Hishamuddin? Siapa would you want to see jadi yang boleh memacu negara?
Memacu negara ya, saya rasa it's actually very difficult to say siapa yang boleh memacu negara at this point of time. Looking at even Tun Dr. Mahathir had a very difficulty when he made a comeback, and then went to Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and so on. You know, I can't actually seriously figure out like who would be good for the country. Unless you put them in that position, and then we will see, you know. Sebab it's totally a different game ball now. Last time it's ada pattern dia. Sekarang pattern dia is like your ECG, is like going up and coming down, going up and coming down, going up and coming down. So kalau you want to have that leader that would be able to go up and come down, go up and come down, I haven't come across anyone like that, you know. But I would go for a leader that believes that we should pay attention to the things that we're supposed to pay attention. Mutual respect, bringing Malaysian together, try to help as many people as we want, spread kindness and all these things. Because in order to capture the importance in the politics, a lot of this good value has been drained out. Dia dah macam dibuang ke longkang. When even bila benda-benda ni semua dah dibuang, when you become a leader, you become a leader yang mungkin sangat dibenci oleh rakyat Malaysia. So, yeah.
Charles, Mungkin ni orang akan terkejut juga dengar. Okay, what is your opinion? I think Rafidah Aziz is one person. I believe that the Prime Minister that we didn't get to get. What do you think?
Well, I have a lot of encounter with Rafidah Aziz because Rafidah Aziz is someone who's like very sharp. Dia kelebihan Rafidah Aziz adalah dia punya cara percakapan beliau adalah sangat accuracy, ketepatan dalam berbicara adalah sangat tinggi, you know. So she can speak in a lingo that anyone can understand, and she always puts figures, sebab kenapa dia cakap macam tu, and all these things very clearly. So that's why ramai orang suka dengar cakap Rafidah Aziz, because the way she speaks is very clear and she simplified. She was taking care of MITI, Kementerian Perdagangan Antarabangsa at that point of time. And you go for a PC, do you know that she actually write her own speech before she comes out from the car, and then her press secretary, this lady named by Fauzan, correct me if I'm wrong, she will photostate that and give us, that is the press release. So I can see Rafidah Aziz, basically she writes everything beforehand. She's not like somebody is actually technically preparing the speech for her. She talks for her mind, what she wants to say. I'm only going to say this at this event because this is relevant for this particular function. That is kelebihan Rafidah Aziz. But tetapi to lead a country is not a one-person show. It's a cabinet show. You need to have the father, the mother, the daughter, the stepmother, the stepdaughter, all of them coming together, you know. So yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe she don't want to be in that mess, so she exit out early because she feels that it's not going to bring her anywhere. Maybe she realized the value of life is being with family, some good friends, and enjoying the moment while age is catching up. Let's do some good thing. And she's a more free person to say whatever she wants now comparatively when she was in the government. Yeah.
You pernah jumpa Rafidah Aziz?
Yes, I have. Of course, kita sangat kagum dengan karakter Rafidah Aziz. Iron Lady. Yeah, right, Charles?
Yeah.
Charles, when you say that you can't even point one person to be the leader untuk lead the Malaysia, then you said about dia kena it takes a team. It's not just one good player. It has to be semua player kena terror untuk kasih satu pasukan itu menang dalam any game. Walaupun you have a like striker yang bagus ke apa, but without the rest of the team, dia tak boleh menang that game. When you say this kind of thing, it feels like macam what's next for people like me and you? So are we supposed to just relax dan makan popcorn? Ataupun what can people like you and I ataupun kita do?
I believe what I'm trying to say is actually tak semestinya dia daripada kumpulan pasukan yang sama. It can be a mix, alright? It can be a group of technocrats who don't have the importance in politics to hold some ministerial position, you know. That will actually will give us a better chance to see, as people say, a light at the end of the tunnel, you know. Daripada kita meletakkan this politician must be from this party A, party B, this party will lead better than that party will lead than that. No, I think that is already over. It's all about individual. We should take about people who are, yang tak ada kepentingan politik and who just wants to, like 8 to 5 job, you come in as a minister, you buat kerja-kerja you, and then you just go back home. That's it, you know. Those kind of technocrats will actually make our country look better, and it definitely will give a lot of hope and percambahan semula, regeneration, rather than like very party-based, you know. So saya rasa
Bukankah sekarang ni that is the composition of what the government is today?
No, I don't think so. It's still, if you look at Perikatan Nasional, it's still led by Bersatu, and which they have their political interest in Bersatu. We have UMNO, we have PAS, and then we have a few technocrats. For example, you can say like Tengku Zafrul and so on. But just imagine we have like 15 of them, like Tengku Zafrul kind of people in that cabinet who advising and doing the things that they're supposed to do. I think at least akan ada harapan yang lebih cerah kepada kita, sebab we won't have that political survival punya element dalam kita. It's just like I just here to do my work. You know?
Would that be impian Disney, Charles?
It could be a impian Disney, tetapi impian boleh jadi kenyataan. You know, if there is a will, there is a way. You know. Yeah.
1000 impian KC, Charles.
Ya, 1000 impian.
What did you say there?
Okay.
It says battery level low, exchange battery.
Oh my goodness. Kejap, Charles.
Okay.
Balik ke apa, Charles?
Sekejap lagi balik dah, sebab saya baru terima yang barang-barang sponsor lah, seperti t-shirt, kita punya mask and all these things. So they're doing
berapa value tu, Charles?
Kita dapat t-shirt, mask sponsor daripada this company called Motoprono, you know. So I think the value is coming up to, for the whole year, kalau kita nak kira dia punya value is coming up to almost 70,000, okay. Tetapi because of PKP, we might not need that much of t-shirt because volunteer pun kurang kan. So we are taking batches by batches in the sense of like every 2 months. Kalau kita boleh retain the same amount and use it for the following month, kita akan gunakan. Kalau ada keperluan, baru kita minta balik lah. Yeah.
I see.
Sorry, tadi kamera kita terhabis bateri dan saya lupa nak put it on direct current. Charles, tapi kan apa yang berlaku kat negara kita ni sekarang ni, apa pun COVID-19 ataupun kerapuhan kerajaan ni, tapi saya rasakan ini adalah satu saat masa yang sangat-sangat interesting. Kita tidak pernah melalui keadaan yang macam ni apabila semua orang mesti, semua politician mesti berhati-hati di mana apa yang mereka lakukan. Silap lakukan dan silap percaturan, mereka akan kehilangan 1 atau 2 kerusi dan kerajaan itu akan berubah. Dia sangat
tetapi I'm looking at the different thing, because for me pandemic COVID-19 supersedes the interest of the politician. So mungkin saya punya pandangan ni ramai akan mencemooh saya selepas ini. Saya rasa tindakan yang amat berhormat Perdana Menteri Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin untuk call for darurat is very important, because it's just to tell to all the politicians, hey, come look at it, just shut up. And you all just concentrate on how we want to reduce the cases. That is more important. And I think that we should listen to the SOPs and listen to the DG, and we should be worried about the increasing cases, and we should be able to analyze that cases, and we should be looking into how to help the people who are directly and indirectly affected during this pandemic COVID-19. I think that is more important rather than the political survival and so on. So I rasa,
two things where I was coming from just now was, I think the election of 2018 was a very important time in our history. That's where the time we as the people decided that to press the reset button. Kan? Regardless of what happened to Pakatan Harapan, or regardless of steps or policies taken by this current government, tetapi the 2018 tu, it gives a lot of things to us, that any mistake can be reset. When we detour ataupun gone astray, we can pull back, go back to the right direction. Itulah cakap tadi, what's happening now is very interesting. So we hope that every single member of parliament must do what is best for the country, or else your fate will be decided by us. So this 2018 election tells us that we can change our country. Yeah, we can change things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is important that the change happen because it gives an idea, a clear picture to every politician that nothing is permanent in life. Okay, things can change, and I mean, as a person who believes in God and so on, I would say that God is in control. So you just because you have the position and the power and the money and everything, you jangan memperlekehkan orang yang lebih rendah or don't have those things lah, you know, because it is proven even politic of a government which has been holding for many years, even that bandwagon, you know, that bandwagon yang orang akan cakap if you don't get into the bandwagon you will be left off, but 2018 shows that everyone let go the bandwagon tu pun jatuh. Correct? That's what happened. Yeah. So in this situation, it is a very good, interesting story for us to reflect that if you want to come into politics, you should be able to accept this. And what happened after 22 months after they take over the government, it changed back again. So it's volatile, correct?
Yeah.
It changes and changes and changes here and changes and changes. So why it is changing so frequent? Because it is a signal and a sign to us to say that all this while you might be thinking that nothing is going to change, but eventually it can change.
Yeah. Many countries pun yang
gone through, for granted lah.
Many developed countries that gone through this kind of situation whereby every 4 years or in fact less that they change their leader, prime minister. So
yeah, it has been, but it's totally a new norm for Malaysia.
We have to adapt.
Kerajaan yang memegang tampuk kepimpinan untuk satu tempoh masa yang begitu lama, and another opposition yang like sangat dahagakan untuk memimpin negara for the first time was given a chance, you know. So for us, it's like although like every 4 years other country changes and it's becoming a normal thing. Maybe like macam kalau kita ambil dekat US, it's like every time election it changes and people are accepting it and moving on and so on. But benda-benda ni tak pernah berlaku dalam hidup kita. It's like a COVID-19 pandemic. Kita tak bersedia tetapi benda tu dah berlaku. So so what we need to do,
apa yang you boleh cerita pasal kita mengenai deep state dan adakah deep state ataupun daulah terpendam they call it wujud di Malaysia?
It's very difficult to say because I've not experienced or been in that situation, you know. I can only talk about things that I've experienced, people that I've talked with, and my environment. I'm a person that if I could not relate to that question, or if I could don't have much understanding on it, I would not want to touch on that.
Yeah, because where I was coming from was like government servants, penjawat awam. They've been in the career path though. They have been there for 30 years, you know, sehingga mereka menjadi ketua pengarah ataupun ketua setiausaha dan sebagainya. It's their career. Their career is to take care of the country, to take care of the government, the administration, the daily operation of the government, kan? And then here comes this group of people from political parties. Every 5 years they go for election, and then they win, they lose, and then they become ministers and whatnot. They keep changing. So the problem is when they keep changing, we continuously would have the kind of situation where, you know, policies change 180 degrees. Sometimes turn back 360 degrees. So having penjawat awam yang kukuh tu, yang boleh di respect, boleh yang akan mengekalkan satu-satu polisi tu, to me is important, dan I think that is what deep state all about.
Yeah, but policy changing actually, the process is usually dia akan pergi melalui satu proses rang undang-undang di Dewan Rakyat dan kemudian akan diluluskan oleh Dewan Negara dan sebagainya. Tetapi dalam konteks darurat pada ketika ini, kita boleh cakap the main person who's like really in charge is the Ketua Setiausaha Negara KSN and also the KSU in all the ministry. And dia punya mereka punya framework biasanya akan berlandaskan kepada etika-etika kerja dan juga what need to be done and what need to be done, not to be done, and the pressure and also the campur tangan or invisible hand from the politician will be lesser. So I believe they can do a better work now because there's no this kind of influence coming in. A good leader who is a minister or a deputy minister would be able to make the system look better and cut the red tapes and also to make it more visible and more transparent and putting the interest of the people as number one. But the question now is how many of the political leaders are willing to do that? Because it's all about survival of the fittest now.
Charles, datang sikit dekat dengan mic.
Survival of fittest at this point of time. So that's what is happening at this point.
Okay, enough with politics.
Yeah,
I guess.
let's talk something else.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just tired. I think this is a popcorn time, for me. So Charles, talk about movies. You watch Membesar tengok Ali Setan, and then you watch XX-Ray.
Yeah, XX-Ray. Recently for Tahun Baru 2021, they put like this family channel. They was putting XX-Ray, and actually I called one of my Malay girlfriends, and I said, "Hey, do you remember this movie? We used to go to theater and watch." She said, "Oh my God, kenapa lah Charles, dah pukul berapa dah ni kau call aku ingatkan benda-benda ni." I cakap, I teringat ke Aziz M. Osman and then the wife, was acted in XX-Ray and then became Aziz M. Osman's wife, the heroine, I can't remember her name. And then Faizal Hussein, yeah.
Faizal Hussein.
Faizal Hussein was acting in that movie, and then XX-Ray was like something, and then Jafar On also was the lecturer there in that movie, in
XX-Ray.
Yeah, XX-Ray. Yeah. So so it's very interesting. It's recall back so much of memory. Saya ni seorang yang macam I always cherish and live in my old memories, and bila I cakap pasal benda-benda lama ni, saya sangat so much into it. Saya sangat like macam I'll get into it and everything, I even my Form 1 class photo, I can remember each and everyone's name accordingly, and my other friends always say like, "Oh, your memory is so good." It's not so much of memory because I macam very involved at that moment so much. I can remember this person. Yeah. So yes, another chapter after school, university. That's the reason. Like people ask me about NTV7. I always reflect so much about what happened when we first started in 1999 and the people that I met. And how was the situation, the reporting, the questions, and all these things, So, yeah, that's me,
Charles, one thing yang about you adalah you punya empathy. I think kita punya background, I don't know whether yes atau tidak lah. But I believe because kita punya background yang kita bukan datang daripada golongan keluarga yang berada. So empathy itu menebal bila kita tengok tentang, kita understand tentang kesusahan dan hardship orang, kan, make you understand berbanding dengan kalau orang yang berada, dia takkan tahu how it is. Tak ada makanan, kat dalam ais box ke, macam ada baju nak pakai, kena ada beradik, ada ramai, that sort of thing. Sikit lah. Okay. Kalau some ministers, tak semua minister lahir dalam keluarga berada, kan? Tetapi kita tengok, adakah pada pandangan Charles, minister yang bukan daripada golongan yang berada tu, adakah mereka betul-betul faham tentang kesusahan dan really nak perjuangkan tentang kesusahan rakyat?
Mungkin mereka nak memperjuangkan kesusahan orang, mungkin mereka boleh faham, tetapi pemahaman mereka tu tidak sedalam berbanding pemimpin yang pernah melalui situasi itu. Alright. For example, if you go and ask a person who's diagnosed with cancer and survived, they would know the real story comparatively to any one of them who just know cancer in the sense of book and have encountered some people who had cancer. So benda-benda macam tu susah nak cakap. Tetapi adakah orang yang kesian terhadap pesakit kanser itu tidak mempunyai, tidak memperjuangkan ataupun be empathy about them? No. So it all takes kindness to come in and to feel and try to do as much as you can for one another lah, itu je. Lepas tu, and talking about being empathy and so on is like yes, it's important to be empathy, but sometimes empathy also comes with responsibility because kita tak nak orang lain ambil kesempatan hasil daripada empathy kita, you know.
Okay, because Ed ada cakap tentang hari itu, which I did not read sebenarnya. Ed yang baca about the fact where Ahmad Maslan said something like tentang dia datang daripada keluarga penuri getah. Sebab masa tu people ridicule dia punya statement tentang apa Ed masa tu?
Dia in favor of having an election right now.
Yes,
lepas tu banyak orang cakap tak setuju dengan pendapat dia. Lepas tu dia pun cakap lah, dia cakap ini kalau orang belajar PhD je faham. Lepas tu dia ada side pun take it differently, cakap dia apalah, hentam dia balik lah.
Dan Kari cakap dia
goreng pisang. Dan dia jawab balik, dia cakap dia tak ada maksud nak hina siapa-siapa because dia tahu asal-usul dia seorang anak penuri getah. So dia takkan hina orang, dia cakap.
Yelah, tapi the question now is apa relevannya nak meminta untuk election diadakan dengan asal-usul you sebagai seorang penuri getah. Yeah, it's a typical politician. Special their own interest. Kalau dia rasakan election itu akan mengubah segala-galanya dan meletakkan kepimpinan parti mereka di tampuk kepimpinan utama negara, pastinya that's what they want. So that is the element of the politician. So I believe that if we have more technocrats, they won't be even mentioning about these kind of things. They will be more talking about how to get in the vaccine fast, you know, how this vaccine can work towards people. There are few tiers kan, okay, we know vaccine who can take, who cannot take, and all these things. Macam mana kita nak disseminate this kind of information to people, and how we want to cut off the chain of COVID-19 and bring the number to at least 50 or 20 cases a day. Dia akan cakap macam tu. So bila you cakap pasal perkara-perkara yang nak call for election, nak call for all these things, at this point of time, dia lagilah buat rakyat akan rasa marah. Because you like it or you don't like it, the spread of COVID-19 dekat Semenanjung is like berpunca daripada Sabah state election. Correct?
Yeah.
Suka tak suka. Tetapi you want to call for another election, mungkin orang akan lagi alert. You call for another election, the cases are going to go up. A lot of people are going to lose their life, you know, because of the COVID-19. How it happens to our family member who are nobody, adik-beradik kita ke mak bapak kita ke, macam mana kita akan rasa? Kita mesti salahkan politician kan? Betul tak? Kenapa they call for the election at this point of time? You must be, that's why you need to be a bit sensible what you need to talk at that point of time, you know? Kalau you cakap benda-benda yang tak kena, tak masuk akal, you akan dapat balik benda-benda yang tak kena dan tak masuk akal lah. You know? So you have to accept it lah.
Yeah, Charles, you mentioned tentang Sabah election trigger balik this third wave of COVID-19 dekat dalam Malaysia. Somehow setelah Sabah election tu berlaku dan people start blame, I think few months ago bila lepas Sabah election dan ada cluster-cluster daripada politicians yang balik daripada Sabah election tu, so everybody will like dah semua cakap ni semua cluster politik ya, cluster menteri, stuff like that, and somehow eventually benda tu macam blackout, died down, blackout, started like macam phrases yang keluar antaranya jangan blame, stop using that as cluster apa ni. But I really feel that it was like a blackout, blackout kan supaya anger orang tak apa ni, and then somehow benda tu macam like hilang and people tak sebut sangat, but adalah hakikatnya like people like you just said just now. Dan I think a lot of people also strongly believe bahawa this third wave ni di Malaysia adalah memang berpunca 100% berpunca dari the Sabah election. Bila cakap tentang itu, blackout dan sebagainya, we're talking about the reporting, media accuracy, kan? Di manakah kita sekarang ni? Kan, kalau dulu Altan Tuya, Syaribu tak boleh disebut. It's a known fact. Kita bila buat berita tak boleh sebut tentang even Mongolia pun tak boleh nak cakap benda tu. Di manakah kita sekarang ni dan adakah why dia blacked out benda tu? Kita adakah benda-benda yang wahyu-wahyu yang masih lagi wujud, and kalau benda tu masih wujud, di manakah future atau di manakah berdirinya student Masscom?
Okay, wahyu ni saya akan kata if you talk about 10 years back, mungkin ada dalam wahyu dalam media ni mungkin memainkan peranan yang sangat penting, and it happens almost every time, Tetapi sekarang with the social media and so on, people are more vigilant in the sense of getting the stories and the information, that is the reason maybe some of the ratings from the news, you don't need to wait for 8 o'clock news to get something, and sometimes some of them don't even watch primetime news to listen what is the update, because everything is in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the WhatsApp messages just going viral and everything, So that's what happening at this point of time. So that blackout that you were mentioning is like, maybe it at that point of time mungkin diorang rasa to slow it, the information, that kind of situation is good because it was more like a blaming game rather than finding a solution for it. So that's why there was a lot of says from a lot of people saying that, okay, let's not play this blame game, see what is the solution. All right, okay, fine, But now, recently, I'm sure a lot of politicians even came forward to say that it is because of like we learned our lesson, and it was from Sarawak election and so on. Sabah. So yeah, it's just a matter of time when something can be said and something could not be said, because it could trigger the situation to become more macam lagi tak seronok, sebab kita akan macam cakap ini salah you, ini salah you, ini salah you, ini salah you, tetapi bukankah kalau dah ada perkara macam tu, tumpuan harus diberikan kepada macam mana kita nak kurangkan kes-kes macam tu, and what are the things that we need to do,
Alright, very boleh migraine topik-topik ni because it's a never ending. I don't know how we can actually, because macam rakyat macam macam orang biasa macam I merasakan bahawa yes, I'm not going to point finger, tetapi but you are responsible because you took away my freedom dan untuk lepak kat kedai mamak ataupun keluar dengan relax, because we had that. We were better kalau benda tu berlaku, dia boleh kita dah boleh, other countries dah boleh percaya dengan kepada negara kita, dan memungkinkan travel bubble berlaku. Dan when travel bubble happen, kita tak payah nak question tentang livelihood of the hotel industry, of kita punya tourism. But now, you're talking about, okay, now you cakap tentang the question of this MCO, dia dia melibatkan orang punya livelihood dan life. Tetapi why are you talking about it now? I know it's not about pointing finger, tetapi itulah adalah hakikatnya. You yang pencuri sebenarnya. You understand what I mean?
I could agree with you to certain extent, all right. Tetapi my idea is like it's already happened. It's a past tense, So rather than going back and blaming the politicians or the political event that took place, is not going to bring us anywhere, correct? So let's move into something that could actually save the country and the economics and the environment, which is like disseminating the information about the COVID-19 vaccine. Adakah maklumat-maklumat yang benar diberikan kepada rakyat? Testing has been done. Okay, a lot of people are worried also to take the vaccine because ada macam case ada yang meninggal. So is it a normal thing? So I think we should be concentrating towards that, because in life, it's always good when one incident happen. We should not always think about it. We should look into moving forward.
I know, but next? The thing is, what makes you really, disturbed bila they don't learn. They still want to push for the election. Kan?
Yeah. But Dang, five fingers are different. Not everybody will think like us. Everybody have their own opinion, their own thoughts, and the way of how they want it to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So let them be what they want. So sekurang-kurangnya on our angle, we must make sure that we are a responsible citizen, that we actually follow the SOP. We follow all the SOP carefully, and we look forward how we are safe, and also ensure that everyone is safe. Yeah, okay. Because not many things is in our hand, betul tak?
Betul.
Tongkat sakti tu tak ada. Kalau tongkat sakti tu ada, maybe
cuba tengok, cari itu betul. Kau ada kat bawah meja ke? Kat dalam kereta ke? Tapi whatever it is, kalau betul ada tongkat sakti tu, Charles, aku minta kau satu lah. Tolong saktikan supaya kita orang kaya lah. Kaya, kan, ada istana, apa lagi? Ed, what do you want?
I nak hidup selama-lamanya dengan sihat.
Dengan sihat, tapi tua ke handsome?
No, Ed is saying health is the biggest wealth.
Sihat, Adilo. I nak jadi sihat selama-lamanya macam Amitabh Bachchan masa muda.
Okay. Fair lah, fair.
Amitabh Bachchan to me is the best dancer among them.
Amitabh Bachchan don't dance. He doesn't dance, Charles.
He tak tahu.
He used to dance last time, but I'm not so keen of his dancing. I feel Shah Rukh Khan dance better.
They have to dance. Whereas Amitabh Bachchan, he just have to just move a little bit. That is already dance.
Yelah, legend lah kan. So move sikit je. Oh my God.
I think.
Oh my God, he's moving. Macam
tu tengah dia tinggi dia kan.
Tapi I tengok yang terror tu, how this the other guy, Kamal
Haasan, oh my God.
Macam tak tua,
Charles. I am a die-hard fan of Kamal Haasan. Oh my, every day now, Astro has a channel for Kamal Haasan. They repeat all the movie. I never missed the movie, and he was the host for Big Boss Tamil season 4. And every weekend, I think most of the Malaysian Indians will be like watching and listening to what he have to say, and never age. And he is he really mastered a lot of things about acting, and and in one interview they asked him, like, you have worked with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of heroine, so how do you make your expression towards the heroine like so real and so on? He said, what, for me, in any movie that I do, okay, dalam apa-apa filem yang saya berlakon, saya akan habiskan masa yang paling banyak dengan heroin itu sebab saya akan mewujudkan satu bentuk keselesaan antara saya dengan dia so that I can get the best out of her. So when I get the best out of her, my acting will be good, in the same time her acting also will be good. Dia akan cakap macam tu.
Maknanya chemistry itu penting, Charles,
Yeah.
kan? Chemistry.
But Kamal is very good in bringing out the best chemistry on you. You can't like macam if you ask anyone, they say like, oh my god, this guy is like, they call him Ulagan Nayagan lah, you know. It's like maksudnya like the world's kind of like best stage performer or something like that, you know. I can't like literally translate to you, but dia itu memang hebat lah sebab dia boleh buat macam-macam punya watak and dia menjiwai. Macam Ed lah, dia bila dia buat lagu lirik-lirik, dia pandai menjiwai lagu-lagu semua kan. So
okay, like segmen ini disponsor oleh Ed Samad. Charles, selain daripada tu Kamal Hassan dekat dekat you call it Bollywood ke? Is it Bollywood?
It's like Kollywood lah.
Kollywood. Dekat Malaysia siapa yang aktor yang paling kau minat sekali?
Yang dah
tak kisahlah yang kau
like, yang sekarang really sekarang like, dulu.
Yeah.
Sekarang I can't remember, tapi I more to this 80s.
Sepanjang zaman siapa?
Panjang zaman maybe Jin Samsudin.
Yeah, kenapa?
Yeah, I think he has character, you know. He punya character, he looks good, he carries himself very well. He was a senator. Dia punya perjalanan hidup bukan saja for the movie, but he gave back something to the industry before he leave this world. So I rasa he has that character. Of course, P. Ramlee, people love him so much, you know. And then other people that yang suka adalah I like all of them lah, you know. I think that era of people, I feel they just like
I punya favorite
Ali Setan, you know, Azmi
Mustafa.
Yeah, just like adore him so much, you know.
Yeah, talking about actor kan, Charles kan. My father was also an actor. Yeah, dan Charles dapat sempat berjumpa dengan my father kan, Charles kan. What do you remember about him? The thing is, I've never, to be honest, I feel really bad. I'm such a bad daughter. I jarang, bukan cakap pasal filem Melayu, I don't even watch lakonan my father. So I think it's really bad.
Sometimes saya akan tanya soalan dekat Dang, pelakon-pelakon drama bersiri Opa tu apa dah jadi ya? Dia kata aku pun dah tak tahulah Charles, dah hilang, tak ingat dah kan.
You remember you met my dad Charles?
Yeah, I remember meeting your father with you in Secret Recipe dekat Taman Tun. And then I was looking at him, I cakap, pernah nampak ni. And then after dalam 1 bulan lepas tu, I actually watched him in a drama, you know.
Okay.
Then I said, oh ni Bapak Dang Surya ni. Okay, now I know. So I always feel that kenapa Dang as this special X factor when come to TV, because I think she got it from the father, you know. Because you know, is being a news anchor or a host is all about is like you're anchoring the show. It's not about pembaca berita, dia penyampai berita. You have to get people involved in the story, and I always feel like people like Dang Surya has it so much that I'm glad that I learned a lot of things from her. And I have people like I've seen that yang I selalu cakap macam, Dang, you baca berita sedap, macam Senator Ras Adiba, kalau Ras Adiba baca news sedap, Andraj baca news sedap, Yusanani Yusak baca news sedap. So they have this voice kind of like yang you nak dengar like, oh my god, kesiannya dia orang dah meninggal. I know those kind of like
Choi, aku cakap apa?
Ya, betul lah.
The stories, you know, the stories that you all katakan story tu is about accident, people die.
So I see.
You boleh relate with the story and say like, oh my god, kesiannya they have passed away in that accident. So that kind of thing, you know. Another person, of course, in the male industry is, of course, my very good friend, Wan Kamarudin, you know. He has actually turn the way of presenting in TV to a different era, so I learned a lot of things from him, so I'm so blessed. I am, we got this group, right? WhatsApp group top 3 and Surya and Wan Kamarudin. So I'm so blessed to have these people always with me, and we talk to each other almost every day. We call almost like every day. I call Dang, I call Wandin every day. And actually that's my life actually, every day calling these 3 people and talk to them WhatsApp and this thing. But we hardly, Dang, we didn't meet because of this pandemic, COVID-19. We have been so long we didn't meet. Tetapi we call and we share ideas and everything. We talk about a lot of things. Sometimes kita akan cakap, Dang, kau tahu tak kalau orang dengar apa yang kita cakap, orang mesti cakap, what's wrong with these people? Peliknya dia orang punya argument, dia orang punya story and all these things. But actually that's what we are, because we are real.
Charles, you mentioned tadi tentang rewind sikit. You mentioned about you when you met my father. By the way, thank you puji-puji segmen tu tak di-sponsor oleh aku Okay. So you mentioned that when you met my father, so then you see that where are the certain qualities in me or in that I have lah yang mengingatkan tentang diri my father. What about you? Your parents, your mom, your dad, your family.
Saya rasa saya banyak resemble about my mother, My mother, dia a no-nonsense woman lah. Dia macam very straightforward, and dia tak cakap banyak, dia akan cakap bila ada keperluan saja. And my mother would say that she is a very strict person when come to, she feels that that's not right to do, it's not right to do. And so I feel I banyak karakter mak saya. And then lagi satu is like mak saya adalah seorang individu yang sangat berjimat cermat, Even we buy chicken from the market also, she'll keep a little bit in the refrigerator, simpan untuk guna hari esok. So I always like feel like when you have more income, you should keep, and you should save the money for your rainy days and so on. So I banyak macam follow. And one more thing is like maybe this one I don't follow my mother, but I jenis yang suka kalau I rasa benda tu tak betul, I will confront straight, confront in a right manner. I say that why did you say that? Why did you do that? I need the explanation why. That's why I feel like my wavelength and Dang Surya's wavelength is same, because kita kadang-kadang kenapa kau bagi dekat budak ni, kenapa you tak bagi dekat dia? Why? We will simply go and ask if we see something which is not right. Kita akan terus tanya. So because we were in that situation at one point of time. So for us, like why can't you treat everyone equally? It's like that. So yeah.
Talking about equally, is it difficult for being Indian to be recognized?
Yeah, of course, it is. It's very difficult. It's very difficult because the issue being an Indian is sometimes we feel that we want to belong. We want to
be accepted, recognized,
want to be accepted, and so on. But accepting the situation is a greater mindset rather than arguing about it, So you accept it and you don't do that to others lah. Itu je my take, It is like that. It is this is how it is. But make sure that you don't do this thing to others lah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Charles, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Wish you and Ed all the best.
Yeah. Thank you so much lah. Hi guys, terima kasih kerana menonton. Thank you for watching. Teruskan menyokong saya dan Ed Samad dengan like dan subscribe. menjalinkan hubungan rambang adalah satu pengalaman yang mendewasakan.